Okay, so I'm gonna try to cram in as many questions as I
I got.
can.
I'm here. I'm here for you.
So we got this huge revelation that Victor has a sister named Eleanor, whom he forgot that he had, and this calls into
Eloise.
question.
Eloise.
Oh, Eloise, I'm so
Eloise.
sorry.
That's okay. It's new to me too.
Yeah, I was writing my notes in a hurry. So
Yeah.
how did this revelation affect your understanding of who Victor is and your approach to portraying him?
Oh, yeah. Thank you for that question. Wow. Well, it was as we were shooting the season. It's funny, I actually thought something else was going to happen. I actually was convinced that it was kind of going in another direction. You can imagine when I got that script and like you see now, when I opened it up, my jaw dropped to the floor. Oh my God. What it did is it, it, I think a lot of this season is about Victor's connections with people. Tabitha, Jade, as we've seen. Also, the way he's been dealing with Ethan all season, which has been so right. You've seen it. It's been hard, but it's been about him protecting him. I think what it did is it fueled me in the as soon as I found that out in the ways that I was dealing with those specific characters, particularly Tabitha because she's a mother character in my life, and so I think that yeah, that just gave me not necessarily a new direction, but just maybe more to go with, when I went into to play those scenes with her, because I think that it made me realize or illuminated this idea that Victor is trying to, let's even with Tabitha say, really trying to connect with her and with his mother. That's the closest thing I've got, you know?
When it's interesting because Tabitha tells Victor, I need you to be brave. And Victor says that that's what his mother used to tell him. And
Yeah.
there's actually a fan theory floating around that the townsfolk are trapped in a time loop. So when you were
Yes.
working on this scene, did you ever ponder the possibility that this cyclical dialogue could be a clue to indicate that they're trapped in a time loop?
I think that is, oh boy, what's the easiest answer to that? No, I didn't necessarily think that. Although I get the idea of there being some sort of recycling effect that's going on in the town. Uh, no, because again, I think just as the way I was approaching it as Victor is it was just more like, it was just more like having my mother there in that particular moment when we were shooting it. But I think there are, and you've seen them and heard them too. There's all kinds of little lines or things that pop out as Easter eggs throughout the season that again, we as the cast, we don't know. We don't know where that's all going. But that was one, I will say this, that did resonate obviously in a way that I thought, oh yeah, this definitely this whole relationship with Tabitha ties into the whole history of this place. You know, the very fact that my mother never made it through the tree, and then Tabitha, we have this thing now in the next episode where I take her to the tree. Yeah, there's some sort of continuum anyway, isn't there?
Yeah.
Something's happening.
So we see Victor confronted with this idea of getting to leave the town, but his
Yeah.
response is that the town is his home. Have you
Mhm.
ever envisioned Victor back in the real world, and what do you believe that would look like?
I don't actually. I made a very conscious choice, I think, just as an actor, to not think about that outside world. So in terms of Victor's thinking, because I don't think he does, you know. I think the other thing that Victor says in the season too is that that I don't think there is a way out, you
Hmm.
know. So I think that is his world, that is his universe, that he has adapted or is continuing to, adapt to.
So obviously Victor's story is very tragic, but you do get some really funny lines at various points. The standout being
Yeah.
Victor telling Ethan that the orange marker was dry. So to what extent, if at all, do you alter your approach to delivering these more comedic lines compared to
Yeah,
a lot of your other lines, which are very tragic and dramatic?
sure. Yeah, yeah. Thank you for that question. And again, that's the beauty of John Griffin's writing. I love all that stuff. That's so great. Um, I was watching that episode actually with my wife, and she burst out laughing, and then she snapped her head towards me like this. She goes, "That was mean." um, I think the best way to approach that, and I do my best to do it this way, is just to approach it from a real place and from a real emotional place. That particular line was clearly being used to just reconnect with him. I didn't want him to walk away. So I know it's sort of a funny way to do it, but it's beautiful that John put that in there because it's very childlike. Like, oh yeah, those markers you bought me, they suck. It's just that way to get his attention and to let him know that I care. I think that's just a beautiful aspect of not only John's writing but the character.
And then one final question. If the
Yeah,
powers that be in the industry do the right thing and renegotiate fair terms for the WGA, and then we can get to see a season 3 for the
yeah.
From universe and all these characters, what would you like to see explored or developed for Victor?
Interesting.
So it's not you spoiling anything, it's more so just your
Yeah.
imagination as an actor for
What
the
would I like to
character.
see?
Yeah.
Yeah, again, that's something that I haven't given a lot of thought to, but I think, what I would definitely like to see is because the way that the stories are set up, which is just, is that divisiveness that's happening between, Colony, although it's starting to come together, right? Boyd and Donna spend a lot of time together and they're trying to just figure this thing out. And I think this is going to sound very optimistic, of course, but just in this world and in this life, it'd be great to see everybody come in and collaborate, share those stories and those things, not keep anything from each other, to really try and get to the crux of this whole thing so they can get out.
Yeah. I think it'd
You
be
know?
fun for you to get more scenes with Harold. I mean, I'm a little biased because I really like
Ah,
Harold, but that would be really cool to see
yeah.
more scenes between those two
Interesting. Yeah, you know
characters.
what? And I didn't really notice it until this season was closing, and I thought, oh yeah, Harold and I really only we had this one little moment in the peach truck together. But I would die to work with Harold, uh, the king.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, he's the reason I started watching the show. I was like, oh,
Yeah,
Harold Mercutio is in this.
yeah,
I will
yeah.
be seated. Yeah.
Totally, totally.
Well,
That's
thank you
great.
so much for your time, Scott. I
Yeah,
really
thank you.
appreciate it. It's always interesting to probe your
Yeah,
mind and your process
yeah.
as an actor.
Thank you.
So,
Well, great
yeah,
questions. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Donna is a vehicle for some of the best lines of the show. These, I guess, nuggets of wisdom. So, for example, when she's talking to Ethan and she's telling him that fear is what helps people to become brave or something to that effect.
Yeah.
In your perspective, is this something that's a core belief of hers, or is she someone who just has the wisdom to know what sort of advice and wisdom to share when somebody's feeling afraid and vulnerable?
I think it is. I think it's a bit of both. Um, but I think part of it with Donna is she does have the kind of wisdom that to acknowledge when someone needs to hear what they need to hear. But she has no problem telling, as we know, people things they don't want to hear. But I think there is a core belief in there. Yeah.
I found it interesting that when Fatima tells her that she's pregnant, the first reflex reaction when Fatima is explaining that she doesn't know if the pregnancy is real or if it's the town trying to torture her, that Donna starts laughing. And I'm so curious about if that's something that was in the script or if that was something that you brought out as an actor for whatever reason, because I couldn't quite figure out if it was just a stress response or if it was something else going on in her head.
It was in the script. And so I had to, find the why.
So what is the why?
What is the why? I think
Yeah.
is there's been so much down and there's a flood of excitement and suddenly there's possibility and it just wells up. Like it's not a conscious, and whether it lasts or not, who knows?
Donna tells Fatima that a miracle is just the other side of a nightmare. In your mind, was this something that she already believed, or is it more of a realization that she's come to from being trapped in this town?
I think it's a realization she's come to. Yeah.
The thing about Donna is that we see this pattern now, especially with those two characters, where people come and confide in her when they won't share something with the people that are seemingly closer to them, whether it's Ethan with his family or Fatima with the father of her unborn child. What is it about Donna that you think makes people want to confide in her specifically when these things are going on?
I think it's that she innately holds within her character something that makes people feel that she can take the confidence that they offer, that you can give her information you're taking a little risk. There might be a bit of hot-headedness, but I think there are some people in life that people just gravitate towards being able to share with, because I think they seem to hold some weight, whether it's true or not.
Another big dynamic that Donna has this season is this friction with Randall, mostly coming from his side. You know, he's very much the instigator in their conflicts, but I'm so curious about, do you see within, you know, the imagination, your, you know, possibility of those two being able to come to some sort of understanding? Because I think that a lot of why that relationship is the way that it is just because he's such a skeptic about what's going on, you know, extreme circumstances being what they are. And I think that the two of you as performers have such a really engaging energy to watch back and forth. So I'm just so curious about if we could ever get to see the two of you play a whole other evolution to that relationship.
I think we can. Yeah, I think we can. Whether it's taken that way in down the future, I don't know. But honestly, like, I think there's a lot of potential for that. Like, I don't think it'll ever be easy for those two, but I'd love to play that complexity of there's some reconciliation, but we're still banging.
I kind of like the idea of if they start to get along, but maybe they still bicker a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think they're ever going to just become a team that's easy. It will be a team. If there's a team between them, there will always be issues. I think those two personalities are not gonna ever be like, yeah, it's just the way you are.
There was supposed to be production happening with season 3, but of course we have the writer's strike at the moment. So Donna is a huge fan favorite. Is there anything in just a general sense that you can tease about if season 3 does get to proceed, the general direction of what could be happening, whether it's for Donna specifically or just the show in general?
I literally have no knowledge of anything. None.
Well, maybe where you would like to see Donna go next.
I would like to see. God, there's so many directions. I like. I oh, I'd like to see how where she fits in with the pregnancy. I would like to see how that plays out and how Donna copes with that role. I would like to see more stuff with all my problematic men. I could take it like whatever the adventure is. I love having the conflict with the guys. And the women too, but I have less to do with them. I don't have a lot of female conflict in the show. It tends to be with men. I just realized that. I'd love to see her get stuck in something like some kind of trek or adventure that she doesn't know how to handle. I'll think of something else too after we get off.
Well, I'm more than happy with that answer. So thank you so much for your time, Liz, and congratulations on the season. You know, it's been really fun seeing Donna be the one person who, you know, holds it down while everybody else is being messy. So I really enjoyed it.
Thank you very much.